In the sunshine of the Adriatic coast, we are at Misano for the third weekend in the all-new Fanatec GT2 European Series. Welcome to Misano, welcome to race one of the two. The grid is starting to form as we get set for this first 50-minute race of the weekend. 2 drivers per car, mandatory pit stops. It is an all-new category for 2021, and bit by bit, it's building momentum, and there are plenty of teams looking at it with a view to coming in as the season goes on. The stalwarts are back for the third weekend. We've been to Monza and we've been to Hockenheim, and it is turning into a battle between not only Porsche and Audi, but KTM in the mix as well, with these very light, very powerful, very lively cars that are occasionally found in the wrong direction. Chris Rosenberger will start on pole position. The pit window between 20 and 30 minutes. The pit stop line to line, 97 seconds. That includes the driver change. And there on the outside of the front row is Christoph Ulrich, who has had 2 wins already this year. He is the championship leader in the AM section. There is Pro-Am and there is AM. And the KTM, as I say, light, powerful, very lively, occasionally a nervous car. But Christoph Ulrich sharing again with Adrian Speshka, as he did at Monza, and they had a victory there. Lining up on the outside of row 1, certainly potential winners here. David Addison trackside, Gemma Scott down on the grid. And as the countdown continues, we have Chris Rosenberger and the redoubtable Hans-Joachim Stuck on pole position. Chris Rosenberger will go first. Let's hear from him on the grid now with Gemma.
Chris, obviously we're just waiting for the start to get underway. Pole position, absolutely ideal place to be. And a championship that's already growing despite it just launching this year.
So, you know, pole position for me is the first time as well, so it's a bit exciting. At least there's no traffic in front. I hope not to get it too wrong. And I really hope to make it into the pits to give my car in one piece to Hans-Joachim Stuck, who's waiting for me.
We've certainly seen a lot of action so far in this championship, and it's a fairly aggressive circuit here.
We've had some great racing. The circuit itself is quite aggressive. For me, the first time here as well, so everything's new. But it's a fantastic track, and I just hope to keep it in one piece.
Have a great race. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And if you are new to the championship, you did hear correctly. It is the Hans-Joachim Stuck who will take over. Le Mans winner, Grand Prix racer, touring car legend, all-round good guy, good egg is Hans Stuck, and still competitive. And he will do the second stint. And the driver that starts today takes over tomorrow. In other words, the second driver today is the start driver for for today's evening race. There are 2 on the same day. Normally it's a day apart, but there's an evening race here. There is a car that was rather badly damaged at Hockenheim, the car of Seti Samani, that will be shared with Stefan Rossina, and that lines up on the 3rd row of the grid. 10 cars we have in total. As I say, it's an all-new category for this year. It is building, and there's been a meeting with the teams this weekend to say, right, how can we push this on? What else can we do to draw awareness to GT2, this new category, new regulations, aimed at the AMs, aimed at the gentleman racers, so there's aero, but not huge amounts. There's enough to keep the cars on the road, but not so much aero that they're incredibly quick cars. The driver makes a difference, they're fun to drive, and it's getting that message across now to the outside world. Come and join what is a really good championship. Stefan Rassel not only believes in it, he's on the grid. He is in the LP racing car that will line up, whisper it at the back of the grid, his Audi. But Stefan will go first, and his neighbour in Italy, Luca Piri, will do the second stint. Einar Thorsen, new to the championship, he lines up 6th on the grid, and he will hand that car over to another vastly experienced driver, Peter Cox. 81 is going to be started by Peter Gerlings, relatively inexperienced Belgian racer, but the very experienced Bert Langin will do the second stint. And alongside, you've got a car that's had 3 wins this year, the high-class racing Audi of the South African-American Mark Patterson, and Anders Fjordbach, the very fast Danish driver, who will do the second stint. And those 2 cars, actually, from the 4th row, worth watching. Bearing in mind, if you like, that this is the grid set by the AMs, but when you get the pros in, the quicker drivers, then the whole complexion of the race is going to look rather different. It is a rolling start, of course, as befits a good GT grid. So very shortly, the pace car as it is will blast away, does so now, and then the green flag releases the race cars onto the formation lap here at the circuit. Marco Simoncelli, we go. The Misano circuit, which is a versatile venue. It's used not just for cars, but for bikes, for trucks as well. And it's got these very low curbs, which I think will be a factor as the race goes on. So Chris Rosenberger is the man on pole position. Christoph Ulrich lines up alongside him. Another stalwart GT racer starts 3rd, Mauro Casadei. in Cedric Limer's Lamborghini, and then Klaus Angerhofer in his Reiter Engineering run KTM, 4th on the grid. Shedi Samani's KTM 5th, the sister car of Einar Thorsen, is 6th. 7th, Peter Gellings with the first of the Audis alongside Mark Patterson's high-class racing car, and then the back row, Stefan Rattel with his Audi, and the sole Porsche on the grid of Porsche nut Aurelius Rustica, the Lithuanian driver, who will do the first stint, and then the very experienced, very quick Michael Bergers will take over. It's also worth bearing in mind that a bit like, now where's that KTM off to? Way out wide there. That's the Shedi Samani car, I think I'm right in saying. A little bit like British GT, for example. This is a championship that introduces success pit stops penalties. So you get a timed penalty added on to your mandatory pit stop if you're in the top 3 in the previous round. So that means that the car on pole position, Chris Rosenberger and Hans Stuck, that gets 7 seconds because they finished second last time out, alongside Christoph Ulrich's car 10 seconds because it was a class winner last time out. On the second row, the Klaus Angerhofer Hubert Trunkenpolt KTM gets 5 seconds extra, third last time out. Whereas in Pro-Am, number 33, that has 10 seconds. Stefan Rattal, Luca Piri's car has 7, and the Porsche of Aurelius Rustica and Michael Vergers gets 5, all of which throws the advantage, you would argue, in Pro-Am towards 81. Bert Langevin, quick driver, and the car doesn't have any extra time to serve in the pit lane. We'll see how crucial that's going to be when we get past the pit window. Peter Daly, who is the race director for this, also for British GT and still an active Formula Ford 1600 racer himself, will give the call, if he's happy, to get everybody released this time, get themselves into the 2x2 formation, ready for the rolling start as the cars now come up towards the back part of the circuit, towards the Curva del Carro, up towards turn 13-14. There are places where track limits of these low curves I mentioned a moment ago are a problem. In certain places you will find there is a yellow sausage curb behind the green in front of the red and white. What they don't want is you running wide over those yellow sausage curbs, because you can damage the car, you can put liquid on the road and then spoil the race for everybody. So actually, even though you would penalise yourself, those are areas where penalties are certainly going to come, just to try and police the racing, keep people the right side of those sausage curbs. You've got a glimpse of one just there on the left, to try and make sure that other people's races aren't affected by one errant car. It's easier said than done. Let's concentrate on the race because it is about to get underway. This is race 5 of the Fanatec GT2 European Series. The cars now make the run up from the Curva Misano up towards the line. The lights will change and 50 minutes of Fanatec GT2 European Series racing is underway, with a good start made then by the pole position driver Chris Rosenberger, with slotting in behind him Christoph Ulrich as they dive down towards turn 1. Wriggle your way through that elongated S, and there, look, Mark Patterson in 33 round the outside of Peter Gellings in number 81. The two Audis absolutely together, with Gellings on the inside line heading down towards us. He will brake late. Mark Patterson, though, very experienced driver, tries to brave it out round the outside. They lean on each other almost touring car style, and Stefan Rattal has got a great view of all of this as he wriggles his way now up through turn 6, speed building on the run all the way down to the sharp, almost elbow-shaped turn 8 now. So the KTMs getting away up front. Good effort being made also, you can see, by Mauro Casadei. Go back to the 1990s FIA GT Championship days. Mauro was a stalwart Whispering Porsche racer, but now actively involved with Pirelli and Lamborghini, both on the administrative side, the sporting side, and occasionally still racing. It's good to have him back on track as the cars now accelerate towards us for the first time of asking. 50 minutes, clock ticks on down, and it's the white KTM of Chris Rosenberger that has the advantage at the moment. Ulrich runs second, Casadei is third, Klaus Angerhofer is fourth, fifth is Einar Thorsen, and then sixth, Shedi Samani. Stefan Rattal from the back row trying to make progress, and Aurelius Rustica's Porsche is the other one to watch, and Rustica, I think, yes, has got himself up past Stefan Rattal at the moment as the cars now accelerate towards the Curva Misano, up towards the end of lap 1. So Rosenberger it is at the end of the opening tour who leads the way. Christoph Ulrich trying to go with him. The margin then as they break the beam just over a second. Third is Casadei, fourth is Angerhofer, fifth is Torsten ahead of Samini, seventh is Gellings, eighth is Patterson. There, look, is Aurelius Rustica, and so now Stefan Rattel has fallen back a spot into last place. Those two cars from the back row ordinarily should be quite quick, and now it's game on. Look there, because up the inside of Casadei goes Angerhofer, and he goes through. So Klaus Angerhofer goes third, goes wide as well, but gathers it all back up and is just able to hang on to position, therefore denying Mauro Casadei that chance to come back at him. Casadei comes under instant attack. Einar Thorsen now got himself into the mix as well and looks for a way by. But Klaus Angerhofer making progress. Up front, it remains the number 24 KTM, Chris Rosenberger, at the wheel of it. The former rallyman who came into racing through KTMs. There is, in Germany, in Hungary, the KTM crossbow battle, and we've seen that supporting SRO GT events on occasion. Well, he came through that, big fan of KTMs, and right now trying to build that lead over Christoph Ulrich. Now, number 17, Klaus Angerhofer, getting on with the job here, getting away from Casadei, who in turn is being given a hard time by Einar Thorsen, and having said he's getting away, Casadei closes right up again. Look as they come up now towards turn 14, narrows that margin. Now, in a straight line, is the Lamborghini going to have the grunt? Those KTMs, very, very quick, but they're very light, very lively. So bury your foot too soon, and they can really get away from you very quickly. And we saw that at Monza. We saw it again at Hockenheim. And right now, there, look, for the race lead. Fastest lap of the race done by Christoph Ulrich, and he is all over Chris Rosenberger like a cheap suit now. Nose to tail they run through turns 1, 2, 3, that first S, and then the speed starts to build as they head up towards the Rio curve, which is effectively turns 4 and 5 bolted together. But Christoph Ulrich showing his pace now because he has got onto the back of Rosenberger. So there is Ulrich. Presses on, tries to get himself into a position where he can challenge the leader, but actually the gap has widened markedly from 2/10 over the timing line. It's really gone up because that was a slow first sector by Christoph Ulrich, and another place lost by Mauro Casadei there because Einar Thorsen gets up on the inside line as well now. So Thorsen's KTM goes through. So Casadei dropping away. That car should be taken over, incidentally, in the second stint by Cedric Leimer, who's got a very good track record in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo, in which he's been a mainstay for many, many seasons through lots of iterations of Lamborghini within that championship. We don't see him that often doing races outside it. It happens occasionally, in, for example, the old GT Sports Club days, but it's good to have him here with Casadei trying something different. But right now, Rosenberger leads the way, bearing in mind he's got to be at least 7 seconds ahead of anybody else to maintain a lead in the pits, but the car behind is going to have to serve 10 seconds in the pits. And we have the change. We have Ulrich's gone by. So Christoph Ulrich leads at the end of the lap, and Chris Rosenberger falls to second place. So now, turn it the other way. Ulrich's got to be 3 seconds clear. He's got the 10-second stop, 7 seconds in the pits for Rosenberger, who's back on the inside line. And all of this now playing into the hands of Klaus Angerhofer, who is in third place. Angerhofer, the former German bike racer, there he is, look, bringing down that gap. He's raced in the World Endurance Motorcycle Championship before he came into cars, and Angerhofer is catching the top two. He's taking Einar Thorsen with him, so it's a KTM 1, 2, 3, 4, and then for the established supercar brands, if you like, at holding honour, fifth for Lamborghini is Mauro Casadei. But this is looking like a very KTM-y circuit, isn't it? These remarkable cars with the front bodywork, or the roof line that goes forward to let the drivers in and out. You think what happened there, but actually it's all deliberate. The whole upper bodywork lifts and pushes forward. You'll see it at the pit stops. They are quirky, and KTM always a big supporter of these types of events. If you remember, in the early days of GT4, KTMs were on the grid in the super light class, effectively, with the open top crossbow, but this GT2 car built for the regulations, so KTM seeing a market, and it's borne out by the fact that they are quick cars. They've not yet had an overall win, dominating their class, largely the AM class, but they could be on here for honours outright. So there is Einar Thorsen, who does lead Pro-Am at the moment in the Reiter engineering car. Hans Reiter, who for many years was synonymous with Lamborghinis, but now he's the man behind these, effectively works KTMs, and that car of Einar Thorsen will be taken over by Peter Cox, effectively Thorsen replacing Rupert Atzberger, who drove that car at the start of the season. Now, Christoph Ulrich, having hit the front, is getting away, and for second place, up the inside line, tries now turn 2 to go Klaus Angerhofer, gets his nose chopped off, he trims the curb on the inside there. So Chris Rosenberger having to make his KTM very, very wide indeed, and all of this playing right into the hands of the leader. Ulrich getting away, and so now Angerhofer does make his bid, going down the inside line there into turn 4, and he's got the job done, but he goes wide. Back to the inside line, tries to go the car there of Chris Rosenberger. No way through, however. But Ulrich getting away, and don't forget, he's got to try and build 10 seconds over the opposition. Now, Klaus Angerhofer only has 5 seconds to serve in the pit, so if he can be released from behind Rosenberger and get on with the job, might be interesting on the pit stops. Then, of course, you've got to think about Pro-Am, where currently Einar Thorsen leads, and that car doesn't have any extra success time in the stops because Thorsen's new to the championship. They didn't finish well. Well, Peter Cox didn't finish well because he copped a penalty in race 2 at Hockenheim. So right now, that car looking very strong. It's leading, it's quick, it's got a gap, it's got no extra time to serve in the pit, and it's got Peter Cox, very, very quick driver indeed, to do the second stint. So, with that tempting fate, it's all looking pretty strong at the moment for the 4th place car in Pro-Am. However, we'll wait and see what happens in that second stint. Right now, surprisingly, the Audi of Stefan Rattel is still at the back, but the KTMs look like they found their absolutely ideal circuit. Whether it's because it's a motorbike circuit, who knows? But KTM, with its origins, now turning to GT2, and this Misano circuit absolutely dominating. Look at the lead now that Christoph Ulrich has pulled out as Rosenberger defends from Angerhofer coming over the line once more. Look to the inside line, goes Angerhofer at turn 1. The lead gap is nearly 4 seconds already as Ulrich starts to pull clear. Number 23, Einar Thorsen, staying with them. Mauro Casadei is next. So actually, although Christoph Ulrich has got through the pack now and has been released, there's still a great battle pack for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, because now Seti Samani is joining in that mix as well. Stefan Rossino will take over that car, former Porsche Super Cup racer, so the number 16 KTM can't be ruled out either, as now Thorsen comes up to have a go at Angerhofer, who has a go at Rosenberger, so the 3 KTMs almost trip over each other, just about survive, but those crossbow GT2s work their way through the mid part of the lap, whereas the leader is getting away all the time. 4.4 seconds now is the margin. Out wide and losing a place goes Angerhofer. So Einar Thorsen goes through. Was that a mistake or was that a problem by Angerhofer? Let's see. The car is back up to speed, I think, but Casadei has gone past him. Samini has gone past him. So Klaus Angerhofer drops into 6th position now. It has picked up pace. It was a mistake from the driver, ran out wide. Time lost, momentum lost, and that's Casadei going way out wide over the curb in the Lamborghini. To the end of the lap then they will come, and up to the timing line into turn 16. There you've got Samani just keeping Klaus Angerhofer at bay. Up front though, Einar Thorsen is getting faster and faster all the time as he comes up now to have a go on the outside on the run down towards turn 1, but braking late. He was ahead over the line, but back through on the inside goes Chris Rosenberger to retake the position now. Thorsen ready to make his move, but good defence this by Chris Rosenberger. Mauro Casadei trying to stay with them, and in fact, while they squabble, he is coming back at them, isn't he? So there, the Target Racing Lamborghini. Mauro Casadei goes through. Further back, Mark Patterson trying to get onto the tail of the traffic ahead, which includes Peter Gellings. They are chipping away, closing on the KTMs, but you could argue that those cars ought to be up with them anyway, because we know that they are overall race winners, capable of being victorious. But Thorsen, the 60-year-old Norwegian, very, very experienced driver in things like the 24 hours at the Nürburgring. He's been racing in the Dacia Logan Cup in Holland. Very, very experienced driver. He's on an absolute mission. They turn. Now there is Patterson, just briefly you see in the background the blue and white Audi, number 16 Seti Samani, still pushing on to try and get onto terms with Casadei. Ahead of Casadei there is the Thorsen and Rosenberger battle. Rosenberger still ahead, all of which means that Christoph Ulrich is driving off into the distance. Now Mark Patterson presses on. Peter Gellings is ahead of him as they come now towards turn 16, but not really able to think about a move there. Patterson has to stay behind and, in essence, now try and work out, if he can't get past, the best option is to stay with that leading pack and then give Anders Fjord back in the second stint the hard yards. Casadei, look, he's coming back at Torsen. He's got a bit stuck now. He can't find a way past Rosenberger, and therefore having to go defensive against Casadei, who in turn has now got the Samani Angerhofer fight up behind him. This is Patterson's view. That distinctive wail from the Audi engine as he goes now through turn 6 up to the end of the first sector. Another challenge made by Klaus Angerhofer there to get his place back, but again, it comes to nothing. So Christoph Ulrich, 6.8 seconds ahead of Chris Rosenberger. That's enough to maintain his lead, but Einar Thorsen is 7 seconds behind the leader, and he doesn't have any extra time in the pit. So in theory, number 23 KTM, if things stay as they are, with 7 minutes of the window opening, that car should get out ahead. And Peter Cox, we know, is very, very quick indeed. So I still think the way that he's going, Einar Thorsen is giving himself and Peter Cox a really good chance of a race win here, as, in the meantime, riding on board with Mark Patterson, he hustles his way up now through turn 14. Through the right at the top of the lap now, go into the kink at 15, and the last left brings you in front of the pits. This circuit, 4.2 kilometres long. Over the line go the race leaders. Christoph Ulrich is 7.6 seconds to the good. Heavy braking at the end of that pit straight down towards turns 1, 2, 3. That chicane, that big S-bend put in at the start of the lap. And now you get onto the power, burst of acceleration, and then it's heavy braking again for turn 4. Another sharp right, more than a 90-degree corner. Release a bit of the lot into the apex for 5, left at 6. And then a straight down towards turn 8, but it's a relatively short straight. Mark Patterson hustles on. Christoph Ulrich still with the fastest lap of the race to his name. So Patterson unable to find a way through. There's a balanced performance in GT2 as there is in GT3 and GT4. That means the cars are all evenly matched, and it means that it's hard to find a way by. The Audi R8 GT2 built for these regulations. Audi big supporters like Porsche with the 911 GT2 further up the road, turning through the GT2 RS, but Aurelius Rustiger is a long way back, and actually he's delaying Stefan Rattel. Stefan can't find a way past him. Those two very, very close indeed. Stefan quicker last time around, but Rustiger in a car that's struggling a bit for balance around here. It's a bit of an understeery car, the Porsche. Not yet overtaken by Rattel, but nor is he able to stay with these cars ahead. It's giving Michael Vergers a tough task in the second stint. Whoops, wiper on there. Been knocked on by Mark Patterson in his efforts to get on to terms with Peter Gellings. We're heading towards the final 5 minutes of this stint. This is the battle I was mentioning, Rustiger versus Rattel. The LP racing car, whoops, Stefan Rattel gets a real slide on and loses it coming out of the last corner. That takes the pressure off Rustiger. Stefan, I promise you, will never show that at the SRO Awards, it says here. The boss in trouble then at turn 16, and he's going to lose a massive chunk of time as he gets the car back onto the road. So, Christoph Ulrich leads the way, 8 seconds clear of Chris Rosenberger, all of which is standing Ulrich in good stead for the second stint, but I still think the advantage is Peter Cox is given his speed and experience relative to Adrian Spechka, who will take over number 7. Now, there are the Audis of Patterson and Gellings. They traded places now. Mark's gone ahead of Peter, so we've had that change. And also you can see Einar Thorsen dropping off the back of Chris Rosenberger. He's now become very active in keeping Mauro Casadei at bay, so Rosenberger has gapped him by over a second now. The timing screen now is confirming what happened to Stefan Rattel by telling everybody, if they didn't see it, that 88 spun and rejoined at turn 16. Right now, though, Mark Patterson is pressing on, and there, spinning KTM, that is Fedi Samani ahead, and he's taken, in fact, Einar Thorsen has gone as well. So 2 KTMs have gone. Einar Thorsen and Sedi Samani. Samani is in the gravel. Thorsen's rear wheels certainly are, but can he get himself out? And that straight away takes any opportunity for a win for Peter Cox out of the mix, doesn't it? Because I reckon this is going to be a safety car now, and possibly the delaying of the pit window in order to get them out of there. Now let's try and have a look. There is Sedi Samani going through just ahead of Mark Patterson, and he's losing it, but already off the road, look, has gone Einar Thorsen, and bang. So is there anything on the circuit? Is there oil down? Is there liquid down? Or is it just coincidence that 2 KTMs off at the same place at the same time? Either way, Thorsen off, and the fact the car's then hit suggests that we're not going to see either of those again in the race. So we'll put a kiss of something on Peter Cox here. Those two, I fear, are still going to be in the gravel bed. So Peter Daly, who is the race director, will make a call as to whether or not we need a safety car, whether it can be treated with a localised yellow flag. But with 2 cars off the road, it's not ideal, and it's a longer recovery operation, of course, with 2 cars in strife. There is going through Mauro Casadei. So the new order is Ulrich from Rosenberger from Casadei in 3rd place. Angerhofer now is 4th, Patterson 5th, Gellings is 6th, Aurelius Rustiger 7th, and Stefan Rattel is in 8th place. There are the yellow flags in the background waving as the cars head up towards us, and we are going to go safety car by the look of it, because there it is. It has been deployed, and that, I suspect, is going to confirm shortly that the window is going to have to be put back, pit window, because the safety car is on track. However, we have the safety car boards. The pit window will be delayed, steward Greg Masters tells me, and so the pit window will be put back until the circuit is green. They're all going to bunch up behind the safety car, which is bad news for Christoph Ulrich, having worked hard to try and build that gap. Right there from another angle, that was Thorsen getting it wrong. That's him accounted for. And then Samani off at speed and bang into the KTM. On board again with Mark Patterson. Look, Samani's car just suddenly goes. But already off the road, there you just get a glimpse, is Einar Thorsen's car. So that's the reason for the safety car being needed. We've got 2 of them off and 2 of them out of the race as well. So the order will be the same under the safety car like this, but of course all the gaps come down. There's Aurelius Rustiger, great Porsche fan, that Martini liveried 911 GT2 RS. So Aurelius Rustiger closing onto the pack. Closing onto the back of Peter Gellings, who's just up the road ahead of him. Real shame that for Einar Thorsen, having done a very, very good job, but whether that's purely that the KTMs are lively cars or whether there was anything down on the road, it's kind of tempting, seeing that nobody else has been off, but it was just coincidental mistakes by drivers. But certainly for Einar Thorsen and Peter Cox, big shame. Peter's not having a lot of luck in this. He didn't race at Monza because a penalty was applied after the wrong driver did the wrong session in qualifying, so his co-driver let him not to race. Peter himself picked up a penalty in race 2 at Hockenheim. There was damage, although he did get 2nd in race 1, and he doesn't even get behind the wheel in race 1 here. So the recovery operation continues. The safety car stays out. The race director has just confirmed the pit window is delayed. That's on the screens for the teams now as well. They can factor that into their calculations. And Ulrich thinking, well, that's great, isn't it? Because I've done all that hard work. I built the gap, and it was about half a minute, but it's going to be right down. The reason it had got to half a minute was that others had slowed around the lap, whereas Ulrich, I should say, pressed on until he got to the line. But now you can see he's the only one behind the safety car. Now the race officials here need everybody else to hurry up and catch the cue. Chris Rosenberger has backed off, waiting to see a safety car. Well, he's got to catch it. So having said all the gaps are going to come right down, come on, Chris, get with the program here. He is a long way adrift as the field comes across the line. So the margin between the top 2, 27 seconds, but I can't imagine that the officials are going to let them go until that gap has come down significantly. Anyway, safety car stays out. Stefan Rattel turns his way through turn 2, middle left. Aurelius Rustica goes up through turn 5, the Lithuanian businessman who, as I say, is raced Porsches at club level, and in the Lithuanian 1,000-kilometre race, they have new circuits for him this year, and he's got a really good co-driver in Michael Vergas, who, apart from his own track record, of course, is still the driving standards advisor to British GT. There is 7. That's the leading car. That is Christoph Ulrich. We've seen Christoph race in the GT Sports Club in seasons past, the fast Swiss driver, and now coming into the GT2 category with the KTM. Right, the gaps have all now started to close, thankfully. So, depending on how we are with the recovery operation, then the restart can be planned from here on in. So there is the safety car heading towards the incident zone, and there we are. That's where we're up to. One out of the gravel, one nearly out of the gravel. And depending on the damage, are they drivable back to the pits? That would help to get the restart ready. So Mark Patterson trying to talk to the team, find out when he's allowed in, but the pit window delayed, the pit window closed while the safety car is on track. It's going to be interesting, the second stint, because depending on how long it is, come what may, the faster drivers are going to have less time in the cars. Well, Patterson comes over the line, still sees the yellows and the SC boards, but it's going to be a much shorter stint then for the pro elements, the pro-am cars. Stefan Rattel at the rear of the order, and we are expecting the safety car to be in this time, I understand. So the pit window will open immediately when the green flag is shown. But is the safety car good to be in this time? That's what I'm hearing from race control. And the lights are still on, but perhaps towards the end of the lap the call will be confirmed. So fingers crossed we can go racing this time. Aurelius Rustica versus Stefan Rattel, that battle which was shaping up nicely before Stefan's moment. Well, they can have another go at it. Safety car is in at the end of this lap, confirmed, so we'll be good to go racing then. There it is on the screen, as you see, 81 for Peter Gellings, soon to give way to Bert Langin. So the pit window opens as soon as the green flag flies. So for many, there's just really one lap, I suppose, now to think about pitting. You want that quick driver in as soon as you can. In the case of the leading car, though, Christoph Ulrich, I think it's fair to say, is a little bit faster than Adrian Speshka, so he'll try and build some of that 10-second margin back up again. Right then, we're ready to go. On his toes is Christoph Ulrich, experienced driver. He knows that when the lights are out, it's time to go racing, so as he wriggles up to turn 16 with less than 25 minutes on the clock, Jerome Doval brings the safety car down the pit lane. The green flag is ready. The green flag flies. We're racing again. So it is Ulrich that will lead away. Rosenberger is second. Kassadai is third. Angerhofer is fourth. And then fifth, Mark Patterson. He's dropped back a length or two even behind the safety car, but he's taking Gellings, Rustica and Rattel with him as the remaining 8 dive down towards turn 1. Pit window now open. 24 minutes of the race to go, and expect a real raft of people in this time. Of course, nobody able to overtake before they get to the timing line. Misano, another of those circuits where the start and finish lines are in different places, but it's the timing line, the control line, that matters. That's the finish line, and that's where you can race from. So Angerhofer goes through in 4th place, back onto the tail of Mauro Kassadai now. Surprisingly, as you see the effort being made there on the inside by Klaus Angerhofer, it is AM Cup cars, 1, 2, 3, 4, the leading Pro-Am, 5th. So the pros are going to make a real difference, I'm sure, to the order here, but it's going to be really interesting to see how this pans out, especially, again, look, as Mark Patterson falls away from the KTMs. fair play to Mauro Casadei here in the Lamborghini for staying with the KTMs, the Audis, the Porsches dropping away. But the Lambo, maybe it's an Italian car on its home soil, something's working nicely for Casadei, but that car is hooked up. What can Cedric Lima do in the second stint? This time around, pit stops can happen, so let's see who darts first for the pit lane. Out wide again goes Casadei. That brings back onto his tail Klaus Angerhofer, who will perhaps challenge on the run down towards turn 16. So anybody for the pits, not the leader, but Casadei bails from third then. So in comes number 63 Lamborghini. Cedric Lima awaits, ready to take over that car as down the pit road comes Mauro Casadei. And the fact we've got so few cars on the pit straight suggests that there are quite a few more heading into the pit road now. Patterson comes in. What about Gelling? So I'd imagine he'll come in. Yes, Rustica is in. And Stefan Rattel is in, yes. So 3 on the road and 5 in the pits, and that, Peter Gelling swoops across the front of Mark Patterson's car. Stefan Rattel will hand over to Luca Piri as he goes out of shot. And the 97 seconds minimum. Then remember, you've got to factor in the extra time. Nothing extra for this car, number 63 Lamborghini, which now starts to look quite promising, doesn't it, with the safety car as well, having brought it into the mix. Check of the temperatures and the condition of the Pirelli tyres there from the technicians. So Ulrich, Rosenberger, Angerhofer, that's the order on track. They're the only 3 that have stayed out. And 81 serving its mandatory stop then for now Bert Langin to rejoin the race. But on the road, Christoph Ulrich versus Chris Rosenberger. Remember that Rosenberger from pole, his first ever pole in this championship, led away, but lost out to Ulrich. Can he get it back? And indeed, what can Hans Stuck do relative to Adrian Speske in the second stint? Away goes 33 then. So that car is away ahead of Bert Langin, which surprises me because number 33 should have had an extra 10 seconds, shouldn't it? So that's either a very slow stop from the PK Car Sport entry, or the high-class racing car has forgotten its penalty. We'll see what the pit stop times are as they rejoin. So Mauro Casadei goes back out, or that car now, Cedric Lima at the wheel, 1 minute and 38. And Anders Fjord back, still in the pit lane. So no, that's okay, that's all good. So what's happened to 81? Bert Langin is still in the pits. They must have a problem with that car. So that pit stop, rather than being 1 minute and 37, is over 2 minutes. So there's drama here for number 81. It's still in the pit lane. It's now left, but that pit stop was 2 minutes and 4 seconds. So 81 has had an absolute mare in the pits. We'll try and unravel why, but that now really gives the advantage to Mauro Casadei because he's pulled 10 seconds over Anders Fjord back, 10 seconds over Michael Vergers, who's gone back out as well. So there is now Bert Langin, but we need to get to the bottom of what happened in the pits because that was a very slow stop. 1 minute and 37 became 2 minutes 4 seconds for the number 81 PK Car Sport Audi. On the road now, the Ulrich, Rosenberger, Angerhofer KTMs plan their pit stops, and there, look, Angerhofer is under real attack from Anders Fjordback. They're on different laps for the moment, but Fjordback is on a mission and he's trying to carve his way into contention, and he is doing just that. So suddenly that looks like a different car, doesn't it? It's far more aggressive, it's far more poised, and it's now starting to get on with the job. Fjordback's already done the absolute best middle sector. He's on a mission. Michael Vergers is on the curb in the meantime. That Porsche struggling for balance around here. It likes long, fast straights. There aren't many of them. There are lots of corners here, not fast straights. It's an understeery car, so Michael Vergers has got to get that by the scruff of the neck. Anders Fjordback, 2 absolute bests. So the lap he's just started, I would offer you, is going to be the fastest lap of the race on his first flying lap. Number 17, Klaus Angerhofer, is second because Chris Rosenberger is now pitted. Now that's Fjordback way out wide there at turn 3. Vergers likewise in the background. This might be the section of the race where we start to see track limit warnings coming up. Irony of ironies, if any go the way of the driving standards advisor for British GT, Michael Vergers. Anyway, the race-leading car of Christoph Ulrich trying to build that margin again, and he is doing so. 4 seconds clear now of Klaus Angerhofer. Right, Anders Fjordback, absolute best, sector 1. He's already done absolute bests in sectors 2 and 3 on the previous lap. However, Bert Langin is another man on a mission. He's done an absolute best in the first sector. Langin, I would imagine, he's going to be absolutely fuming about that long pit stop, so he is hustling on. In the meantime, Ulrich and Angerhofer lead the way. There is the second place to KTM, Klaus Angerhofer, who will give way to Hubert Trunkenpolz. And that is the leading car of Christoph Ulrich that's going to be handed over shortly to Adrian Spechka. Does he do another lap? He does, stays out. Ulrich thus far does have that fastest lap of the race to his name. As he turns over the timing line. The margin at the moment over Angerhofer in the background is yet to be decided, yet to be confirmed. 5.5 seconds, as predicted. Anders Fjordbach does the fastest lap of the race on his first flying lap in number 33 Audi. So Anders Fjordbach is charging, no question about it. Bearing in mind you get points in your class, it is the Pro-Am win that Fjordbach is going to be most keen about. But by way of a guide, he is now running on the road behind this race-leading car. There it is, and you can see the way the gap is coming down. So Fjordbach could be on for an overall win here, given his pace relative to what we might get out of Adrian Spechka in that second stint. Anders Fjordbach, another experienced driver, both in European racing and in America, racing the IMSA Sports Car Championship. He's raced in Euro NASCAR-style cars, the Danish Thunder Sport Championship, the Renault Sport Trophy, you name it. Rockpan Endurance Series, he's been there. And Anders Fjordbach now, then, like Mark Patterson, revelling in the GT2 machines, where you have the car that slides around a little, but it's not too difficult to drive. They reward the AMs and the Pro-Ams. He's getting on with the job. He's inching up onto the tail of the race-leading car. This is going to unlap himself, but equally, for KTM, he's going to have to pit anyway. So Fjordbach getting into a dice that might be irrelevant depending on what lap Ulrich pits. Now Fjordbach commits, goes to the outside line, and Ulrich, I think, has gone for the pit lane this time. Yes, because across comes Fjordbach to claim the apex. Into the pit lane comes the race leader. Number 88 being told to check the driver ID. 88 is the car of Stefan Rattel, but now Luca Piri at the wheel, but it's still got Stefan's name on the timing screen. So 88, the team being told that they've got to sort the driver ID tag out, the little switch on the transponder. Right, in come the two remaining cars that haven't pitted. In other words, the KTMs of Christoph Ulrich and Klaus Angerhofer. Bert Langin also pushing on. So this car potentially to take over the race lead. Cedric Lima, where's he going? Way out wide over the curb coming out of turn 8, but Cedric Lima is set at the end of the lap to inherit the race lead. So now the gap is going to be between him and Fjordbach. Bearing in mind that's in the AM class, whereas Fjordbach anyway is in Pro-Am. Bert Langin, absolute best first sector. Adrian Spechka rather takes over from Christoph Ulrich now, ready to rejoin. Cedric Lima, so the multiple Lamborghini class champion, heading towards the end of the lap. Is he going to get ahead? Into 16 he comes. Remember, he's at full chat, whereas the KTM still at rest with that longer 10 seconds to be served in the pits. Has to now make its way down the pit lane. It's nearly at pit out. How long before it can accelerate away? It looks like the Lamborghini's going to get the advantage. It does. So the Lamborghini leads. Who for second place, though, now? Is it going to be the Audi of Anders Fjordbach? Onto the race circuit then goes the number 7 Adrian Spechka KTM, but that car leads then. Cedric Lima leads the way, and look at the gap he's got now. Second is Fjordbach, so it's the Audi in second spot, and third is Spechka. So Fjordbach has already been able to overcome his penalty relative to the KTM, but not, of course, to the Lamborghini, because the car had lost ground early on in the race anyhow. But now Fjordbach trying to close on Cedric Lima is going to be very, very interesting indeed. And Michael Vergers versus Luca Piri. Well, we had it with the co-drivers earlier. The battle rages on, but actually Luca Piri looking very committed to get past Michael right now. So Aurelius Rustica giving the car over to the Dutchman, the Flying Dutchman, Michael Vergers, Formula Ford 1600 star of the late 80s, early 90s. Runner-up in the festival, for example, British champion, and most recently class champion in the Le Mans Series. There is Luca Piri hustling on. Luca himself has been around the block quite a lot, having raced GT cars, having raced Euro NASCAR for many, many seasons. And there, Cedric Lima makes his way now up towards the end of the lap. But remember, he's good to go to the end. We don't have to think about any more pit stops from the drivers. So through goes Lima. What have we got left? Just under 13 minutes of the race now as they head into turn 1. Cedric Lima breaks early, seemingly, for turn 1, being cautious about it. Anders Fjordback is 7 seconds behind him. He's just done another fastest lap of the race. So Anders Fjordback a 37.5, faster now than anybody else on track. Adrian Speshka runs 3rd. There in 4th place now is Vergas. 5th is Piri. In 6th place, number 17 of Hubert Trunkenpolt. So Chris Rosenberger and Hans Stuck have dropped back, and Cassadai's and Lima's car's got a problem. That's why it was braking early. It's got a problem. It has slowed right down, and Cedric Lima pulls off the circuit. The Target Racing Lamborghini that was leading the race, its last lap was a couple of seconds slower than Fjordback, but it is out of the race. So that car parks at turn 1. Now, the next question is, can anybody do anything about Anders Fjordback, or is this going to be an absolutely gifted win for him? Well, I think he was going to close anyway, but the Lamborghini in strife. The yellow flag has gone in, suggesting that maybe the car has got going again. So, no, it's just limped out of harm's way, which means you don't need the yellow anymore. So that's it, say the marshals. Forget it, Cedric. Get out of the car, come over here. And Cedric Lima out of the race. So massive frustration. Through there goes 88, Luca Piri, still hustling on. So there is the race leader. That now is Anders Fjordback. So he's inherited the lead of the race with the demise of the Lamborghini, and of course leads Pro-Am in the bargain, and he's done the fastest lap of the race. That is the leading car, and look at the gap between that and this fight for second place. So second is the KTM, Adrian Speshka in second spot. Third, the Porsche, Michael Vergas, and then in 4th place is the Audi of Luca Piri, and the gap back to 5th, the KTM of Hubert Trunkenpolt, with just over 10 minutes on the clock. Now the other one in all of this is Bert Langin up into 6th place, but that car 81 still hustling on to try to play catch-up. Really, that needs a safety car to bring it back into the mix as Vergas here closes onto the back of Speshka. So there you've got the 2nd, 3rd, 4th fight. 10 minutes are on the clock still. Change for second place, because on the inside line, Vergas goes ahead of Speshka. So through it goes on the inside line. The Porsche goes ahead, and it won't be long, I suspect, before Luca Piri goes by as well. As I say, you've got 81 Audi and Bert Langin still doing very good lap and sector times, but after that very, very long pit stop, costed any chance of a race win. And right now, Michael Vergas up into 2nd spot. Now, the best that Porsche has had all year, 3/3, but really out of nowhere all of a sudden, could be on for its best yet. Adrian Speshka dropping back a little bit, as you see, the former Belgian Endurance Series racer, 24-hour series racer. He's about to go another place down as Luca Piri goes up on the inside line, and Adrian Speshka looking a lot more hesitant than Christoph Ulrich was. So through goes Piri, despite the fact that car's had a spin. Safety car throwing it a lifeline, and now with 9 minutes on the clock, the leader goes by. Now, Fjordback to Vergas. Surely that is too big for even somebody like Michael to do anything about, because it's going to be the wrong side of 10 seconds, I would have thought, that margin. Let's see, 12.8, yes. And on that last lap, Michael Vergas slightly slower. Granted, he had to get past the traffic. Now, there is 81, the badly delayed 81 of Bert Langin. Bert is lapping in the 38s. In fact, that time around, he's the quickest man on the circuit. But he's lost so much time in that pit stop for reasons unknown that it's been a real hammer blow to the chances of that car. Fjordback turns through. So this is the leading car, and nearly 13 seconds to the good, you've got to say, now looking pretty much unstoppable. number 63 Lamborghini did hit the sausage curbs, apparently, at the final corner on the previous lap, so did some damage, presumably, which is why that car retired at the start of the following tour. So there, the battle on between 81 Bert Langin and number 17 Hubert Trunkenpolz, and the Audi of Langin goes through on the inside line. So the experienced Bert Langin pressing on. Not only has he gone by, straight away he pulls clear of Trunkenpolz. 7 3/4 minutes to go. Anders Fjordbach comes through, still clear in the race lead. Heads now through turns 1, 2, 3. That first S. See how much curb you can use there. Speed builds as the Audi accelerates away. It's last lap of 38.7, so Fjordbach now driving within himself, but confident in the knowledge that he is getting away from Michael Vergers. The leading gap is not coming down. Fjordbach goes through. Standalone grid for the second race, which will go into the darkness this evening. So it'll start in the daylight. It's going to be the AMs that bring the start driver from this race that will finish the second race, that bring the cars home in the dark. Second and third are together here. Look, Vergers versus Pirri, Porsche versus Audi. These two have been inseparable, these two cars inseparable for the entire race, really. They were on the same row of the grid. They ran together in stint 1, then they got themselves back together in stint 2. And Michael Vergers just keeping Luca Pirri at bay. Vergers accelerates up towards us. We're on lap 24. We've got 6 minutes and a bit on the clock. In the background for fourth, Bert Langin hustling on to the tail of Adrian Spechka. Might even be up with him by the end of the lap, possibly even ahead of him, as they're going through. Luca Pirri not quite close enough to make a move against the Porsche. Michael Vergers is doing a very good job with it, bearing in mind that it's not ideal for this circuit. It's balanced, they can't quite get a handle on, understeers a fair bit, but Michael is ragging it and hanging on a position, as right there behind him is Luca Pirri coming out of turn 16. Up towards the timing line they come now, over the line. Porsche versus Audi. The gap between the two of them was 9/10 of a second. It's down, it's 6/10 of a second between the second and third place cars now, whereas the leading Audi of Anders Fjordbach is getting away all the time. Way out wide goes the Martini-hued Porsche. Michael Vergers at the wheel of it. Aurelius Rustica will be delighted if Michael can bring this home for second place. As I say, their best of the year. They're going to end up, however, with a pit stop penalty for race 2, which will be 7 seconds for second place and 5 seconds for Luca Pirri and Stefan Rattel's Audi if it hangs on to third going into the evening race. So all of the shuffles in the overall order have given us now the Pro-Ams ahead of the AMs. The AM class being led by Speska from Trunkenpolz and Rosenberger. Coming out of turn 10 is Vergers. Makes his way towards Covoni now, that kink at 11. Bert Langin hustles on, and Langin just doing an absolute best in the first sector. There is the leading AM. That is Adrian Speska, with Hubert Trunkenpolz falling away in second spot in the class. The leader has just put 25 laps in the book, with 4 minutes and change on the clock. Adrian Speska looking as though even if it's not going to be an outright win now for that car, there should certainly be a class win. Second and third through together. And wide goes Vergers, and up the inside thinks about going. Luca Pirri can't do it there, slots in behind. Out of Rio, turn 5, and now it is game on, isn't it? Because the Audi has done the catching, done the chasing, it has caught. It is right there on the back of the Porsche. So Vergers is under attack. Out of turn 8 they will come now. Road rises slightly at this point. It'll climb up towards 9 and 10, the next double apex right, but Michael Vergers has extended the margin once again. And Anders Fjordbach, the race leader, is trying to make sure that nobody gets near him in terms of a lap time, because he's doing absolute best in sectors 1 and 2 to maintain concentration almost now. Treat this like a qualifying lap. Vergers runs second still, keeping Pirri at bay. There is the leader, bouncing wide over the curb at 15 to the end of the lap. Is this going to be even quicker? Is this going to be a new Misano lap record for a GT2 car? It stands at 1:37.5, which is what he did earlier on. He breaks the timing beam, and that lap for Fjordbach was a 37.1, so very nearly a full 4/10ths quicker as he continues to build the advantage. Anders Fjordbach goes through, new fastest lap of the race. Actually, sector 3, slower than he did earlier, but it was put together well enough, that lap, still to be the best of the race, with this and certainly one more to go. Second and third go through. Vergers fending off Pirri for the moment. They go right, left, right through turns 1, 2 and 3. Vergers again way wide, and you can see why he's doing that, because he's absolutely on the limit. He is throwing everything at that Porsche to keep it ahead of the Audi. He might be on borrowed time though now. Luca Pirri right there behind. Look as the cars accelerate along that back straight, heading down towards turn 8 in a straight line. The Porsche might should indeed have the advantage, and it does by a length or two, but it's not much. Right, a flying lap is 1:37, so I reckon there's only time for one more, allowing for where the race leader is around the circuit. So penultimate lap, the leaders go now up towards 9 and 10. Vergers keeping Pirri behind him, and that car, in fact both of these cars after the first stint didn't look all that promising. They're going to have very good results, aren't they? So Luca Pirri on the back part of the circuit does lose out, but Vergers is off the road, is he? There's dust settling. Somewhere in all of that there might be a Porsche, and Michael Vergers is off the road. He built the gap, he's through the gravel, he's back on again, but I think Michael was absolutely on the edge to try and stay ahead, and he got it slightly wrong. Off the road has gone Vergers, and that means a second place, despite the spin early on, will be Luca Pirri. You can hear the gravel rattling out of the bottom of the Porsche. It rather dustily comes onto the pit straight. It also means, as Pirri goes through, that Bert Langin is up into third place, and Michael Vergers is down to fourth. We're on the last lap, and so now it is an Audi 1, 2, 3, and the rather red-faced Dutchman Michael Vergers in fourth after that moment. Let's have another look. Just runs out of road and can't turn in, and has to let the car go through the gravel. It's got enough momentum to go all the way through. Michael Vergers not wanting to hit the brakes for fear of the car getting bogged down, so he has to let the car do its own thing, as it were, not fight it, not risk anything else, and bring it out the other side of the gravel trap. So while all that's been going on, Anders Fjordbach has built the lead yet further. Second place is Luca Pirri, and Bert Langin in third, and we understand that it was purely an administrative error on the part of the team not getting the pit stop time right. There wasn't a problem, they just got the time wrong. That was the problem, and therefore kept the car in the pits for too long. Nothing more sinister than that. It's going to be another win though, the fourth of the year, fourth out of 5 races for Mark Patterson and Anders Fjordbach. There is the checkered flag, and Anders slows right down to celebrate with the team, because he has got a monster gap over everybody else. Anders Fjordbach takes the checkered flag to win at Misano. Second will go the way of Luca Pirri, but he's being caught by Bert Langin at the end of the race here. Bert Langin hustling on, getting closer and closer and closer, and there you see the two Audis come across the line together, with Luca Pirri second, Bert Langin third, and the gap at the flag 1.2 seconds. And Michael Vergers for fourth. He's got some explaining to do. Fifth is going to be a class-winning Adrian Spechka and Christoph Ulrich. Christoph started. It's Adrian Spechka, though, that brings the car home to win the AM class from Chris Rosenberger and Hans Stuck. They take 6th overall, second in class, and 7th overall. Third of the AMs is going to be Hubert Trunkenpolz and Klaus Angerhofer in their KTM. But Anders Fjordbach and Mark Patterson have done it again. Win number 4 out of 5 races within the Fanatec GT2 European Series. Second place to Luca Piri and Stefan Rattel, and third to Bert Langevin and Peter Gellings. So this, provisionally, is how they came across the line. Mark Patterson and Anders Feuerbach, the winners from Stefan Rattel and Luca Piri. Peter Gellings and Bert Langevin take third. Fourth goes to Aurelius Rustiker and Michael Vergas. Fifth, Christoph Ulrich and Adrian Spechka. Chris Rosenberger, sixth with Hans Stuck. Seventh, Klaus Angerhofer and Hubert Trunkenpolz. Eighth, Mauro Casadei and Cedric Leimer, but they didn't get to the end. Nor did Einar Torschen and Peter Cox, nor did Sedi Samini and Stefan Rossina. The AM battle won by Spechka and Ulrich from Rosenberger and Stuck, and then Trunkenpolz and Angerhofer in third place. Now race 2 is going to be started by those drivers that did the second stint here, and it is going to be the evening race that will start at around about 8 o'clock local time. So it will be a race going not into the dark, because there's good floodlighting here anyway, but certainly into the dusk around Misano. Anders Feuerbach then down the pit lane, and a very happy man, no doubt, with yet another victory going his way. The officials ready to stop the cars where required. So the winning Audi arrives in a place it's become familiar with, that P1 board. Luca Piri, I think, and Stefan Rattel are going to be very, very pleased with that second place. That was a result that, in a sense, came out of nowhere. And as the drivers then celebrate, Mark Patterson in the mask, Anders Feuerbach in the crash helmet, they're victorious once more. And Anders Feuerbach, illustrating his pace, he's a very quick pro within the Pro-Am class. Straight away, that car just coming alive, wasn't it? So the drivers now replace crash helmets with Pirelli winners' hats. Anders Feuerbach will dress himself, ready for the podium. See what I mean in the background about the KTM and the bodywork that lifts and then goes forward. Mask from the team. And the high-class racing squad victorious.
Well done again. Me, I gave him the car last, so he really did it all. No. Bravo. Huh?
Stefan Rattel saying it was all down to Luca Piri's hard work. I gave him the car last.
Honestly, I'm no trust. It was exactly like me. It's impossible.
So a very happy second place pair, that's for sure. And Anders Feuerbach and Mark Patterson are race winners. They can tell all because they're with Gemma Scott.
Anders, Mark, what a fantastic race that was for you guys. It just about found you in amongst celebrating there, Mark, with everybody.
It was a big surprise. Yeah. That was plan B and C, not plan A.
But a stunning performance. I mean, your stint was slightly longer than planned, I imagine, as well, with that safety car.
Yeah, we had no problem. No one had a problem until the one car went off and the other one just got confused and he snapped his car off. So we had a double boo-boo there. And then we stayed out obviously a little bit longer, but it was perfect timing because we could pit immediately once the track went green and the Euro took over.
Absolutely, and Anders, there you pulled out a sterling gap and a great performance.
Yeah, thank you. We did. We never dreamed of winning here.
This is not something we planned.
No. Super nice.
I don't think it's quite sunk in yet. We will let you go and have a chat about it and celebrate.
Thank you. One day, exactly.
Well done.
All right.
So two very happy, if surprised, winners really, Gemma. Well done, Gemma. So Anders Feuerbach and Mark Patterson in a car that, yeah, was distant in that first stint. And Bert Langevin says, I don't know what's been going on, but I'm slightly aggrieved, Bert Langevin. If that car had not lost heaps of time, like half a minute in the pits, could have been a whole different story. Luca Piri, second, along with Stefan Rattel, there with Gemma.
Luca, we can just about see the smile just as you're popping your mask on there, but pleased with that performance, I imagine.
Yeah, very, very happy. I mean, we went super happy with the qualifying sessions of yesterday. We did very well in free practice, and in paid practice we were first. We started to find the right grip on the car during quali, but I'm very happy. We start 9, arriving second. I think it's an overall very good race, and it was tough to pass the Porsche, so we somehow put pressure and brought them to unforced error. So very happy with that, very happy with Stefan. He did an amazing job, and let's see for tonight's race.
Absolutely. Congratulations, well driven.
Thank you again. See you. Ciao.
Ciao.
We've lost Stefan for the moment, but he's probably congratulating customers rather than taking the plaudits. And then Bert Langin, I would imagine, is going to be very, very grumpy about the pit stop. But third, anyway, was another result that came out of nowhere for him and for Peter Gellings. So the drivers then from the two classes, Pro-Am and Am, will make their way to the podium. We'll have that coming up very shortly. And the second race, as I say, later on in the evening here at the Misano circuit. So the KTMs locking out the AM class once more, with Adrian Speshka taking a second win of the season and Christoph Ulrich taking a third victory. So that car, the one to beat in the AM class. While we wait for the podium, let's have a quick look at the highlights of that race, which were led away by Chris Rosenberger, the field diving down towards turn 1. Aurelius Russiger just keeping his Porsche ahead of Stefan Rattel's Audi. Mara Casadei on his toes in the Lamborghini trying to urge his way forward. And it wasn't long either before the lead battle between Chris Rosenberger and Christoph Ulrich took up attention. Rosenberger eventually falling back as well behind the Klaus Angerhofer KTM, all of which allowed Ulrich to get away. And Einar Thorsen joining that KTM battle pack for second place as well. Stefan Rattel had this moment coming out of turn 16, thankfully without damage, whereas KTM drivers rather less fortunate up the road because we lost Einar Thorsen and then we also lost Sedi Samani as well. This was Thorsen's error, and then wait for Samani to arrive, virtually doing the same thing but at higher speed, going off and collecting Thorsen's car. While they were retrieved, that brought out the safety car, and it meant that all the gaps came right down for the second part of the race, with the pro drivers having less chance behind the wheel. Anders Fjordback getting on with the job, having taken over number 33. He will do the fastest lap of the race. But number 63 Lamborghini that was taken over by Cedric Lima wasn't long for the battle, because although it led, it hit the curb, damaged itself, and was soon out of the race as Fjordback tried to wriggle his way up past Speshka. That was the sad sight of what had been the leading Lamborghini out of the race. Attention then switched to the fight for second. Michael Bergers versus Luca Piri. It looked as though Bergers had got the job done until he ran out of road at turn 13. Up into second, therefore, came Piri. To third came Langin, and up towards the checkered flag for win number 4 of the season. Mark Patterson and Anders Fjordback winning here at Misano. So a lively race. As the old adage, it only takes 2 cars to make a race. Well, we might not have massive numbers yet in the Fanatec GT2 European Series, but the quality of racing is always lively, and we look forward to seeing what the evening race brings, of course, later on. Right, the drivers are being rounded up for the podium. So to the podium they come, and it is Bert Langin and Peter Gellings that come forward first. And then for second place, Luca Piri and Stefan Rattel will step forward. The top 3 teams overall, also of course in Pro-Am. Stefan with his shades on. And he and Luca Piri for LP Racing making their way to the other end of the podium for second place. And then for the top step, yet again, win number 4 out of 5 races for Mark Patterson and Anders Fjordback from the high-class racing team, which has done yet again a great job of operating the winning Audi. So congratulations to our top 3 finishing teams, as now take their masks off to pose for the cameras, and trophies in the air. It's another sign of life starting to return to normal, isn't it? Drivers on podiums where you can see their faces. Hooray, finally. So, third to Bert Longin and Peter Gelling. Second to Luca Piri and Stefan Rattel. And a win for Anders Fjordbach and Mark Patterson once more. And that result as good as confirmed. The stewards with nothing to look at. They're off for an early lunch, apparently. So Anders Fjordbach and Mark Patterson can celebrate honours in this first race of the weekend. Second, Luca Piri and Stefan Rattel. Third for Bert Longin and Peter Gellings. This is what it does for the championship then, with Fjordbach and Mark Patterson now on 112 points from Peter Gellings and Bert Longin on 79, Piri and Rattel next on 72. So that is how Pro-Am stands, and the Am drivers are like this. Christoph Ulrich is the leader on 108 points, Hans Stuck and Chris Rosenberger 72, same number now as Trunkenpolz and Angerhofer have after today's result. Adrian Speshka fourth, having missed an event on 68. Third of the AMs then onto the podium, Hubert Trunkenpolz and Klaus Angerhofer. For second place, stepping forward now, having started on pole position, the car of Chris Rosenberger and Hans-Joachim Stuck. As you'll see from his overalls, an honorary member of the British Racing Drivers Club. And then the class winners, number 7 Adrian Speshka and Christoph Ulrich. And it was Christoph really that was the standout in that first stint, getting himself into the lead, pulling away. And had it not been for the safety car, it might have been a different story. But as it turns out, it is 5th overall, but a class win for the Sportec Motorsport KTM. So our top 3 teams from the AM contest celebrate atop the podium, with Christoph Ulrich advancing that championship lead yet further over Hans Stuck and Chris Rosenberger. It's a shame that Adrian Speshka had to miss the second event, but it's good that he is back. It was there that Christoph Lenz shared with Christoph Ulrich at Hockenheim. So our 3 AM teams make their way from the podium, and race 2 promises to be just as lively. As I say, they may not be big on numbers yet, these races, but they are certainly good on action. Race 5 then of the Fanatec GT2 European Series done, and as Fjordbach, Mark Patterson the winners, and we'll be back on track at the end of the day. See you later. Bye for now.